All right, what's going on? Good morning, everybody. How's everyone doing today? Well, I talked about this topic a little bit on D Styles' channel on Thursday on the roundtable that we do every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Check that out on D Style Boxing's channel. And I mentioned about Deontay Wilder and how abruptly he's changed over the last couple years. The guy's been a pro for 13 years. And in 2018, when the whole Joshua negotiations were going on, we saw an abrupt change in his personality. We saw an abrupt change in his demeanor, the way he carried himself, and the things he was saying outside the ring. And you have to ask yourself, why did he do this? What caused the sudden abrupt change in this man's personality, his demeanor, the way he carried himself? His whole image changed. He became more or less a very outspoken individual, seemed to be hostile at times, talked about wanting to kill people, and still continues to talk about committing a legal homicide in the ring. uh, Speaking a lot about racial issues, which he definitely has the right to do that. But why all of a sudden now, or at least in the last couple years, these last 3 years or so? And I'm trying to put the pieces together. And I notice, we have these, obviously, we have these tribal groups on YouTube. And one of the tribal groups we do have on YouTube, and let's be honest about it, they do talk about race a lot in regards to boxing. They seem to look at situations in boxing and they believe that racism is the reason why some of the things that they don't like in boxing have happened or have happened recently. Whether or not you want to believe that, that's your choice. And then you hear Deontay Wilder kind of double down on their statements. And then you kind of hear other people on other social media outlets. I think it was that guy, something Farrow, who made the video about how he believed Tyson Fury cheated with the gloves, how they bent back or whatever. And, all these things and all these perceptions and all the narratives that have been put out there on social media, not only on YouTube, but on other social media outlets, um, they seem to have got behind Deontay Wilder and created all these narratives for him, narratives that he never used before, things that he never spoke about before, only until these groups on YouTube, or this group on YouTube, I should say, not these groups, but this group on YouTube. Well, a couple of groups, I guess. I guess you have a couple factions on YouTube that talk about a lot of issues in regards to Deontay Wilder, and they bring up race predominantly when they talk about Deontay Wilder, and when they talk about boxing, it's hard for them to actually talk about the sport without injecting race into it, and that's their choice if they want to do that. We're not going to go on, have a debate here about racism in boxing, racism in the world. No one's here to deny that that doesn't exist, but we have to also look at a situation objectively and ask ourselves, in this particular situation, or in a couple of these situations or issues that are going on in boxing right now, is it really about race, or is it just the way it is? Is it just, you know because a result of the circumstance? That's what we have to determine here. So let's kind of unpack and dissect some of these comments and these claims from Deontay Wilder. Obviously, we're gonna rehash old statements. And I know a lot of other people have talked about this. Shout out to Ring IQ. I'm gonna talk about some of the things that he said already. H Money, another guy who talked about all these things. But so you have these the factions on YouTube who've adopted Deontay Wilder as their savior, so to speak. He's the guy that they feel represents them. And now that they've come out and adopted him, he seems to basically parrot a lot of the narratives and a lot of the statements that they say. Now, when you want to talk about that gentleman Farrow who accused Fury of the gloves, Wilder never actually said anything about the whole glove situation until that video came out first, until that gentleman made those statements. Wilder never really seems to talk about racial issues that much. Like I said, he's been a pro for 13 years, turned pro in 2008. Only in 2018 did he really talk about, racial issues in regards to boxing. And that's when these channels on YouTube really started to gain some steam, gain some popularity. So I think Deontay Wilder kind of latched on to these channels and these social media groups here on YouTube, here on Twitter, Instagram, or whatever, right? Kind of latched on to these groups, and he kind of ran with the narrative that they laid out there. To be perfectly honest with you, he saw that these channels had large followings, and I think that these channels used Deontay Wilder for clout. They did a little clout chasing. I think Deontay Wilder used these channels for free promotion. He realized, hey, man, there's a movement out there that I could be the leader of, and I can have these guys put out these narratives for me, and all the while, I'm going to be getting all this attention. I'm going to be getting all this free promotion. So I think, this was a pretty win-win situation in terms of getting attention for the factions on YouTube and social media and Deontay Wilder himself. So you have to ask yourself, is Deontay Wilder just basically latching onto this narrative that was already laid out there, that these people on YouTube, these groups on YouTube, these groups on social media created for him? Because it's hard to not think that that's what happened. It's hard to not think that that's what happened. So you have to ask yourself, is he just being an opportunist here? And obviously they seem to be being opportunists too, because they go out there and make these videos and create these narratives, and all the while they're making money off that, and all the while Deontay Wilder's getting free promotion. So it seems pretty obvious what's going on here. But the one question you have to ask yourself is, does Deontay Wilder really believe all of this? Or is he just using these people the same way these people, I believe, are using him? I think they're all clout chasing. I think they're all trying to make a dollar off him. Do I think that Deontay Wilder really believes that Mark Breland drugged his water? Do I think... thank you so much, Bang Mateo. He says, good morning, Joe. I don't think Wilder is mentally fit for the third fight. Thank you so much, brother. So yeah, so I question whether or not, and this is just my opinion. A lot of everything I'm saying here is obviously my opinion. This is just all my opinion. You can believe me whether you want to or not. But you have to ask yourself, does Deontay Wilder really believe everything that he's saying, or is he just trying to continue to get his name in the headlines? Because let's be honest, when the whole negotiations started back, I want to say back in around 2018-ish, when the negotiations or the talks or whatever of Deontay Wilder unifying with Anthony Joshua, Eddie Hearn made statements that no one knows who Deontay Wilder is, blah, 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 blah. And I've come out and said myself that, wow, Deontay Wilder has put in a lot of work in actually promoting himself and making himself bigger. He's always doing a ton of interviews, very active on social media. Um, was always at the fights, making his presence known. So he was putting himself out there a lot. And in these last couple of years, I have to give him credit. He has gained a lot of steam, and his name has grown a lot. A lot of people who are casual fans know who Deontay Wilder is now, where a couple of years ago they really didn't. And I think those Fury fights definitely helped get him some attention. But now you have to ask yourself, just like Floyd Mayweather adopted that heel role, right? And even Muhammad Ali, when he first came back, and he took on Joe Frazier, he was looked upon as the heel for a brief period of time. And the old saying, it doesn't matter, what you say about me, as long as you're talking about me, that's all I care about. As long as I don't care what you write. Like Floyd Mayweather said this, I don't care what you write, whether it be good or bad, as long as you're writing about me, that's all I care about. You're keeping me relevant. So has Deontay Wilder accepted this? Because a lot of things that he's saying just don't add up. Now, he was being interviewed by Ray Flores, and he made some comments about white privilege. That's fine. We're not here to debate white privilege, whether or not it's a problem in America or not. We're not here to debate that. But what we are here to do is give an analysis on what we've seen. And as I've said many times, behavior is proof, right? Behavior is proof. So we all know Deontay Wilder accused Tyson Fury of cheating, right? Said the gloves were doctored in some way to make him be able to bend it back. He also went as far as saying there was egg weights in the gloves, okay? And who was in charge of checking the gloves before the fight? JD's, right? So JD's, obviously, he's a white man, right? He's Deontay Wilder's, one of Deontay Wilder's trainers, right? So he was in charge of checking the gloves. So you would think that if something was wrong with the gloves, we're just going to use common sense here, that he would have caught it, right? And it was his responsibility to make sure those gloves were on the up and up, that there were no issues with those gloves. Okay, so he was in we have footage of him being in there, watching everything, and he signed off on the gloves. Cool, they're fine. So if there was a problem with the gloves, obviously it would have had to have gotten by JD's, right? He would have been the guy to blame if something were to happen, because he's there on Wilder's behalf in that locker room, Fury's locker room, to make sure those gloves were copacetic. So what does Wilder go and do? He fires the black trainer, which is Mark Breland, the guy who's has much more boxing knowledge, in my opinion, than JD's. That's just my opinion. This was a guy who won 5 Golden Glove championships as an amateur, right? 5 Golden Glove championships as an amateur. And arguably the greatest amateur boxer of all time, won a gold medal at the Olympics, 2-time welterweight champion of the world. This was a guy that was with him since 2008. He was with him for a little over 10 years, right? Actually, no, he's with them for about 12 years. And he fires the black trainer and keeps the white trainer. And the white trainer was the one who was responsible for the gloves. So then he comes up with this story that Mark Breland drugged his water. And obviously we know that you're going to take a post-fight drug test. So if there's any substances that are suspect in your system, they're going to show up in the post-fight drug test, which nothing was revealed in the post-fight drug test. So there's no evidence that Breland drugged the water, right? Obviously he had a problem with Breland stopping the fight, but that's Breland's job, to protect the fighter, right? He thought that Wilder was in trouble, so he goes and fires the black guy, but he keeps the white guy. So Wouldn't somebody say that that would be white privilege? And Ring IQ talked about this on his video yesterday, so I'm just kind of going over my opinion on it and just talking about it even further, just to use it for an example here on how a lot of this image that Wilder portrays, his actions and behaviors just don't match up with his words, right? So he gets rid of the black trainer, right? And then Ring IQ mentioned this yesterday in his video too. We all know Dillian White was ranked #1 by the WBC for years, and I think at one point they did make him the mandatory, but it took them a long time to make him the mandatory, even though he was ranked #1 for the longest time. Dillian White's a black fighter, right? So what's Deontay Wilder do? Instead of giving the black man the payday, goes out of his way and fights the white guy, Tyson Fury, right? So why would you give the white guy the payday who was a voluntary defense? You didn't have to fight the guy. Obviously, you felt as though it was a cherry pick, but you also thought you could beat Dillian White too, right? So I don't know if he thought Dillian White was more of a threat than Fury. It's quite possible that could be the case, but regardless, you gave the white guy the shot before you gave the black guy. But yet you want to use words like white privilege. That seems like white privilege to me. It could be looked at as white privilege because why would you give the white guy the shot? I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but someone could perceive that as such, right? If you want to bring race into it, let's bring race into it. So why did the white guy get the title shot before the black guy did? Right? And then you go and you criticize Kenny Bayless, who's a black referee, right? Once again, doesn't really make sense, right? Doesn't really make sense. And then you have Shelly Finkel, the white manager, right? Why wouldn't you have Jay Prince as your manager? What's wrong with Jay Prince? Right? So all these things just don't add up. You make comments about white privilege, but it seems as though there's a little bit of hypocrisy here because all the white people on your team seem to have been getting passes, right? But you kind of go in on the black people, and not only just the black people on your team, but you're taking shots at black referee, saying that he was involved in the whole scandal there in the second fight, right? But you didn't really go that hard against Jack Reese. You didn't seem too mad about Jack Reese when he gave that count to Fury. And you did mention it was a long count, but you didn't really go in on him. You didn't call him names like you called Kenny Bayless names. You called him a crab in the bucket. You mentioned something about Jack Reese, how you felt the count was long or whatever, but you actually went out of your way to call Kenny Bayless a name, the black man. So you insulted the black man. You didn't just criticize the black man, you insulted him. You called him a name. You called him a crab in the bucket, which is a very, very derogatory term that is used in the South, right? So behavior is proof. So his statements are hypocritical, very hypocritical. If you're going to make comments about white privilege, then why aren't you going as hard on the white people on your team and the white people as you're going as hard on as the black people? Again, I'm not an authority on any of this. I'm probably not even qualified to have an opinion. I'm asking for help. I'm asking for help. People who think I'm wrong in my assessment, educate me. I'm trying to learn here. Is this someone who believes or thinks that white privilege is the source of a lot of his problems, then why is he giving the white people around him a pass and going harder on the black people? Educate me. I'm a layman. I'm an idiot. I'm stupid. I don't know. I mean, I'm not an authority on any of this. You could even say, why am I even talking about it? I'm talking about it because it doesn't make, like, I'm just trying to figure this out. Someone help me figure this out. And then he has his trainer or his friend or whatever, friend and now / trainer, right? Supposedly Malik Scott's his best friend. Again, why would you want someone like your best friend to be your trainer? I mean, when you have that type of relationship, can your best friend really critique you objectively as someone else who's not as close to you on a personal level? I don't know. That's just that's another topic for another discussion. But then you have this man going out there, and we don't want to misquote anybody. We don't want to, say things that are incorrect here. We don't want to be inaccurate. Let's look at this quote here from Malik Scott. So he was originally quoted as saying, Muhammad Ali is one of the greatest fighters of all time. He was magical in the ring, but it was the things he beat outside the ring that truly got my attention. Deontay Wilder is the closest thing to that in this time, and that was from 78 Sports. Shout out to 78 Sports, did the interview with both Malik Scott and Deontay Wilder, so we have to credit him for that. Or we always give the shout outs to people who we get the sources from. We don't steal here. But then on Instagram, he went on to double down on these comments, but actually said something else that was a little bit more controversial, in my opinion. This is quotes from Malik Scott on his Instagram. Human media always misquoting me for the sake of clickbait and because they know their fellow humans are the most easiest creatures to finesse. I never said Bronx Bomber was the closest thing to Muhammad Ali in this time. My exact words was Deontay Wilder is 10 times more skilled in the ring than Muhammad Ali ever was and have beaten 10 times more battles outside the ring than Muhammad Ali ever did. Now go right about that shit. We on our side. This is what the guy went and said on his Twitter. So you have to ask yourself, why is somebody in your camp, another black man, feel the need to diminish, denigrate, or subtract from him to add to Deontay Wilder? Why go out of your way and diminish the black guy? Why do that? Why not? I mean, I don't think there's a need to do it for a modern day fighter to tear down a legend. But even Larry Holmes never tore down another black man. He idolized Muhammad Ali. He was Muhammad Ali's sparring partner, and after he beat Muhammad Ali, he cried, right? And when he was criticizing one of the legends, he actually criticized Rocky Marciano. He went out, he said later, I think I'm not sure if he apologized later for it or not. He may or may not have. I can't remember. But he criticized Rocky Marciano, who's a white fighter. So why go out of your way to tear down another black man? And not only just a black man, but this man was an icon. This was an icon, right? Muhammad Ali was an icon. And he's gone now. But people still have to, instead of people saying, other fighters saying good things about him, you got guys like Deontay Wilder and Floyd Mayweather always trying to throw shade on this guy. Why is that? Why is that? Is it because maybe they could never be that type of person? Maybe they want to be loved like Muhammad Ali was loved, right? Muhammad Ali could go anywhere in the world. In 1990, and I said this many times and I'll repeat it again. In 1990, the United States sent him to Iraq to talk to Saddam Hussein to get the hostages that Iraq had, the American hostages, freed. Can any one thing that Deontay Wilder or Floyd Mayweather ever have done in their lives, could that even compare to that? Did anyone ever ask Deontay Wilder to hold the torch at the Olympics, which is one of the greatest honors you could ever bestow upon somebody? Right? So you have to ask yourself, a lot of this image that you're seeing Deontay Wilder portray, a lot of the things that he's been saying, right? He's supposed to, him and these groups are on this crusade, and they're putting out this narrative, right? But the actions don't match up with the words. The actions don't match up with the words. So once again, my question is this all just a creation? Is Deontay Wilder really just a caricature and not, this isn't who he really is? That's what you have to ask yourself. Is this all just to get attention, just to keep his name, whether it be positive or negative, like Floyd Mayweather said? I don't care if you write good things about me or bad things about me, right? As long as you're right about me. Is this what Deontay Wilder has adopted right now? Is this the image that he wants to portray? Because I find it hard to believe that Deontay Wilder believes all these things he's saying. And I also question his motives when he talks about race, given the behavior. You fired the black guy. You fought the white guy instead of the black guy. And let's take one step further. You had a draw with the white guy, which is Tyson Fury, and you reportedly had an offer to fight Anthony Joshua for all the belts for much more money. But what did you go and do? Instead of fighting the black fighter, you went and fought the white fighter a second time. So this whole white privilege thing, it's just not adding up given your behavior. And again, help me out, people. What am I missing? Where am I wrong? B, who are you to talk about these issues? You don't know anything about this stuff. Educate me. I'm making a plea for help here, because this doesn't make sense to me. Any of this. And then people want to talk about Tyson Fury's failed PED test. Yeah, he failed the PED test. Yeah, he was under investigation. Yeah, he was away from the ring for 3 years. He got cleared, and he hasn't popped positive since. So how am I supposed to take that PED test and make a connection with the glove accusation? It's two different things. That's like someone getting a parking ticket and saying, "Oh, because this guy got a violation, right? Automatically, he's going to get a DWI." Like it makes there's no connection between the two things, right? That's like saying if someone slaps someone on the ass, automatically, oh, that guy, he has the potential to be a rapist now. It's a false equivalency. So I'm supposed to take an incident from 2015 and look at that and make the assumption that this guy loaded his gloves because he failed a PED test. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Once again, here comes the hypocrisy. If you had an issue with people who failed PED tests, right, then why did you fight Luis Ortiz twice, right? And why did you fight Tyson Fury? If you had such an issue and you were such against people who failed PED tests because you never gave Povetkin a rematch, right? You never. He failed that one that PED test, right? And then he never got a second chance. But the other guy who failed, the two other guys who failed PED tests, right? Tyson Fury and Luis Ortiz. You fought them twice. You fought both of them twice. Gave them both rematches. So if you were so against people cheating and how Povetkin was such a bad person and I'll never fight him again because of what he did and blah, 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 then why did you fight the other two guys who failed PED tests? Twice. Not once, but twice. So again, the hypocrisy is just overwhelming here. The hypocrisy is just overwhelming here. Explain to me what's going on here. I want to be educated. So I'm supposed to assume that anyone who fails a PED test, automatically they load their gloves. So all the people in the history of the sport who have failed PED tests, because there's a lot of them, I'm supposed to assume that just because they failed the PED tests, that automatically they're going to load their gloves. That's like saying someone who smokes marijuana is going to be a cokehead someday just because they're smoking marijuana. Like they used to say marijuana was a gateway drug, but they had no evidence to prove that. This is what you guys are doing right now. You're taking things from 5-6 years ago and trying to make them applicable to a narrative you want to create now. And there's no connection. There's just no connection. You know? There's no connection. So if someone wants to provide me evidence, show me where the egg weights are, and someone wants to show me a glove with padding taken out of it, we haven't seen it. Like when we had issues with Shane Mosley and Antonio Margarito, they took those gloves and they took them to a lab and they analyzed them. They did an investigation on them. Luis Restos, same thing. Now, this guy was banned for life, right? Antonio Margarito was suspended for a great period of time, right? So just explain to me where this evidence is. I want, again, help me out here. I want to give you guys the benefit of the doubt. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me where I'm wrong. That's what I want to know. Please help me out. Please help me out. That's what I want to know. I'm looking for some assistance. That's all I'm looking for. You know, if you want to come on here and you want to call me names and insult me, then that's just basically you not being able to actually provide me with evidence that you can really prove that the claims that have been made out there are legit. Why weren't the gloves? If there was something wrong with the gloves, then why didn't JD's catch it? And that's all we have to ask that. So if the gloves would have had to have gotten by the glove inspectors the day before, they would have had to have gotten by the inspectors the day of, who sign off on them as well. Then they would have had to have gotten by JD's. For these claims to have any legitimacy, then Tyson Fury would have to be a magician. Or he could have, I don't understand it. I just don't understand how any of these claims could be true. I just don't see how any of these claims could be true. They would have had to have been, so the commission would have had to have been in on it. JD's would have had to have been in on it. Everybody would have had to have been in on it, right? Everybody would have had to have been in on it. So help me connect the dots. Help me connect the dots here. Is Wilder taking a big risk in this fight? Where does he go if he loses? Deontay Wilder is set for life. He's set for life. He's made a great amount of money. He doesn't seem to live a frivolous lifestyle. I would assume that he's set for life after this fight, win, lose, or draw. I think that I honestly do believe he was not 100% in that second fight. I believe his bicep tendon was injured to some degree. It looked, shout out to Evan Young. I'm always going to give him credit for this. He told me, go back and look at the weigh-in, and you'll see that his left arm looks swollen. And lo and behold, after the fight, he got bicep surgery on that left arm. So I think going into the fight, he was injured. I'm not making excuses. I'm just making an observation, and I'm just stating my opinion. I think that left arm, in my opinion, was somewhat injured going into that fight. He did look a little out of it. Looked like he could have been sick, whether it have been some type of cold or flu. I suspect that may have been the case too. Now, no fighter goes into the ring 100%, but he may have been compromised more so than normal. Obviously, that the wear and tear of a training camp is going to be carried over into the fight, but he could have been compromised in some way. I'm not going to question that. I think there's some validity to that. Now, do I think the suit had anything to do with it? No. Do I think that Breland drugged his water? No. Do I think Fury had egg weights? No. Do I think that Fury's gloves were fucking tampered with so he can bend them back? No. So, but I do think that he could have been a little bit under the weather, and I do think that his left bicep tendon was injured. And I think it could have gotten worse as the fight went on, right? Do I think he's going to win this third fight? I do not. Do I think he's going to do much better than he did in the second fight? 110%. I think the fight goes the distance. I think the fight will end up being like an 8-4 type fight that I think Fury will win. But the one caveat here is, I'm going to get to your question in a second, Ralph. Let me just finish this point. The one caveat we do have is every time Tyson Fury has been the front runner, when he has been the favorite, or when he has won the championship, he has shown evidence to suggest that maybe the weight of being the champion is too much for him to bear. When you think about it, right? He's never, ever defended the heavyweight title, ever. So how will he be psychologically going into this fight? Will there be a psychological letdown? I'm going to pick him to win this fight. I think he's the more skilled fighter. I think he's the better boxer. I think he's more versatile. I think that he may not hit as hard as Wilder, but you could argue that he's physically stronger than Wilder, particularly on the inside when he decides to lock up and maul with him. There's a lot of advantages he has. He can go southpaw. There's a lot of things he can do here. He can fight on the inside. He fights very well on the inside for a big man. Wilder's not a great inside fighter. He just isn't. He just isn't. So I think he has a lot of advantages here. But I do think Wilder will do a lot better in this rematch. And I do not think this third fight will be as horrible as everyone is saying. I think it'll be a pretty good fight. I really do. Ralph said, did you see Jack Reese's performance the other day? I've never been a fan of Jack Reese. I don't know which fight you're talking about. Oh, when he made the what fight was that? When the guy got up and made him walk like friggin' 20 feet. What fight was that? I'm trying to remember what fight that was. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Jack Reese. I don't like the whole theatrics of when the guy gets up, he has to fucking do a fucking lap around the ring to make sure that he's okay. 2 steps forward, look in the guy's eyes, and that's it. I'm not a fan of this new thing with the referees and their theatrics. Pretty soon they're going to make him have like a fucking – the Donaire fight? Um, I didn't really see too much bad in that fight. It happened so quickly. I mean, I thought Donaire dominated the fight, so it's hard to give an in-depth assessment of his performance in that fight. But I always thought he was an overly officious referee. I've never been a fan of Jack Reese as a referee. Never. There's not many referees that I am fans of, to be honest. I think Steve Smoger was a good referee. Who's that referee that always makes those faces? I think he's a good referee. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. I like him. But there's a lot of referees that I don't like. I think referees have inserted themselves into the fight too much recently. They want to be too much of the story in the fight. They want to be the authoritarian in the fight. They want to have these catchphrases. I'm firm, but I'm fair. Let's get it on, and all this bullshit. And they want to, yeah, Reese had Obali doing laps. Yeah, I mean, again, I've never been a fan of that. You just fucking get up, walk, take 2 steps forward. That's it. Steve Willis, that's correct. I like Steve Willis. I think he's a great referee. He doesn't get overly involved in the fight. Arthur Mercanti, I don't like him. I don't like Lawrence Cole's a horrible referee. Kenny Bayless, very indecisive, doesn't let guys fight on the. There's a lot. Steve Smoger was my favorite referee. He was probably my favorite referee. He got criticized for sometimes letting fights go on a little too late, but I like the fact that he didn't really get overly involved. He let guys fight out of clinches. There's been a lot of horrible referees, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Kenny Bayless. Really not. But yeah, I think this third fight will be better than a lot of people give it credit for. I know a lot of people don't want this fight to happen. They're mad because the fight with Joshua didn't happen. And I get all that. I'm not here to tell people what they should like, how they should feel. But my whole thing is this. I think everybody involved wanted to drag this out, wanted to have both guys have a fight in between. So then if Fury gets by Wilder and Joshua gets by Usyk, if he ends up fighting Usyk, then the fight becomes bigger because the COVID restrictions will be gone. Hopefully the travel ban should be lifted in the UK. And all this money that supposedly was left on the table, I think becomes substantially more when and if they fight next year. That's just my opinion. I don't think anyone really loses here unless somebody upsets the apple cart. And then if you're Joshua, if Wilder wins, then that's another. Like for Joshua, I think Joshua actually has the better position, in my opinion, because even if he vacates the WBO belt, he can pick and choose who he wants to fight next. And he could have maybe a softer touch if he wants. I don't think Usyk would beat Joshua, but I think Usyk has less of a chance of beating Joshua than Wilder has of beating Fury because Wilder still does have that punch, and we don't. And Fury's mental psyche is always going to be that wild card. We don't. As much as I love Fury as a fighter, he's very volatile. We don't know what's gonna happen, what his state of mind is going to be going into the third fight. So even if Wilder were to win that fight with Fury, then either fighter, whether it be Fury or Wilder, is going to be a mega fight for Joshua. So Joshua, I think, is in a better situation. Then you could argue, well, Fury fought Wilder twice. He knows him well. He should win, whatever. And I think he will win. But I cannot count out that. Like, there's always that chance that Wilder does land the big shot. But I'm picking Fury to win by decision in that third fight. I think it's going to be a 8-4 type fight. That's how I see it. I think Wilder may start out fast and start out strong, but I think as Fury starts to work his way into the fight, I think he'll figure Wilder out, and he'll be able to outbox him. whether it be from pot shotting him from the inside, or if he wants, excuse me, from the outside, or if he wants to go back on the inside, maul him a little bit and lay on him. Because Wilder doesn't look bigger in photos and training footage that I've seen Wilder in recently. He doesn't look bigger than Fury. Like, it doesn't look bigger than he was for the second fight. So I think Fury will try to lean on him and maul him a little bit and wear him out on the inside in the third fight. I think the weight advantage Fury will have on the inside, he knows how to use it. And I think that'll be a problem for Wilder like it was in the second fight. Even though Wilder will be better, he'll be more durable, I think, in this fight. But yeah, I think Wilder was off. I mean, I'm not gonna deny that. But even with him not being off, we saw the difference in the first fight. That wasn't the best version of Fury, I don't think. Right? We saw a better version of Fury in the second fight. But we don't know what version of Fury we're going to get in the third fight, because this will be actually the pressure of having to defend the title is greater than the pressure of trying to win the title. And we already know Fury's had the psychological issues before in the past. We already know that. So will that play a role or have an effect on Fury going into this third fight? I'm going to keep saying that because I think it could be an issue. It is a potential issue to think about. Whether that issue will be big enough to cause a problem remains to be seen. I don't know that. But I'm curious to find out. Curious to see. I am giving Wilder the benefit of the doubt. I am giving Wilder the benefit of the doubt. But I have to assess the styles of both fighters. And if you remember when Marquez fought Pacquiao the first time, he did well in the second half of the fight, right? Then the second fight, most people thought he won that fight, right? Even with the knockdown. Then the third fight, everybody thought he clearly won that fight. And then the fourth fight, you saw what happened. So when you have a guy like Marquez, who's more of a technical, analytical guy, a counterpuncher type guy, usually the guy who is more versatile, like you could argue that from a technical standpoint, Marquez was more versatile than Pacquiao. Pacquiao was kind of a pattern ambush type style fighter, where Marquez was more of a cerebral counterpunch type guy who could also go forward when he wanted to. He had more ways to win. Pacquiao is usually a guy who outworks guys. That's his way. He outworks you and beats you with speed and beats you with activity, or he wears you down. But we've seen Marquez take it to guys. We've seen Marquez be the counterpuncher. So I guess the more technical guy seems to do better and better the more he fights with a guy who's less technical than him or less versatile than him. So if history shows us anything, maybe because Fury knows Wilder so well, he'll probably already have that data and that information in his memory, and he just may have Wilder's number. But again, we have to always look back and just look at Fury and say to ourselves, he's never, ever defended this title. The last time he was champion, what happened? He had a mental breakdown. So that's going to be there, but I still think I'm just going to look at it as if both men are at their best, right? I don't think Fury was at his best in the first Wilder fight. I don't think Wilder was at his best in the second Fury fight, right? And I thought Fury won both fights, obviously. So based off of what I've seen, I think Fury will win. Question is, will he dominate? I think he'll win clear, but I don't think he'll blow him out like he blew him out in the second fight. That's just my opinion. I have to be honest. Let's take a look and see what the odds are for this third fight. See what the odds makers think. Let's see what the odds makers think here. Let's look at Fury, Wilder 3 odds. Let's take a look and see what these are. See what the opening odds are. Yeah, so Tyson Fury is a minus 360 and Deontay Wilder is a plus 250. So not too bad. Fury's a little around, he's like Fury's like a 3-1 favorite. Not too bad. Not crazy odds. Not crazy odds. Yeah, so we're not gonna totally discount Wilder, but I'm gonna roll with Fury here. I think Fury's gonna win this this fight by decision, 8 rounds to 4. That's my prediction. That's my pick here. Charlo Spence Fury in a parlay is a plus 150. That's an interesting interesting prospect there. You like them parlays? I'm not crazy. There's another guy on Facebook that I'm really good friends with, Chakal, and he loves parlays too. Yeah, I don't mess with the parlay. I like the prop bets. I'm a prop bet guy. If I was to bet this Fury fight, I'd probably bet Fury to win by decision. I think I'd probably get even money, or maybe even 2-1 on that. If I was to bet the Wilder Fury fight, that's what I would do. I would bet Fury to win by decision. Yeah, parlays, they're tough, bro. Chakal hits them once in a while. Chakal had some fucking big ones. He picked I picked Donaire too, but I didn't put the money that he put on it. Chakal made a nice payday on I don't want to dox his winnings, like if he wants to tell you what he won, but he won a pretty nice payday again, on that Donaire Ubali fight. He really did. I got to give him credit for that. That was a good one. That was a good one. All right, guys, that's about it. Beeb is out. Make sure you check myself and Eric Lauda out, Ringside Reporter Podcast, every Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Shout out to D-Style Boxing. Make sure you check me out on the Roundtable every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, over there on Thursdays with D-Style Boxing. Make sure you subscribe to D-Style Boxing. Make sure you subscribe to Calix Boxing. Make sure you subscribe to El Maestro Boxing. Make sure you subscribe to wow, there's a ton of them. There's a ton of them. Make sure you subscribe to G Funky, Kenny on YouTube. All the people on the round table, make sure you subscribe to all those guys. If I forgot anyone, I'm sorry, but make sure you subscribe. And it was nice talking with you guys here on a Saturday afternoon, and I will catch up with you guys later. Take care, everybody. Be safe and have a great day. Peace out.